Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Wiz, and welcome to the latest edition of the Fine Line Podcast. It's the NFL edition for week number 11. Remember, you can listen to me on ESPN New York every Saturday morning. I have the Fine Line. We break down every big game in college football. We talk about the NFL. We talk about hockey, soccer, and UFC action happening at Madison Square Garden Saturday night. Holy cow. It's all available on the Fine Line. Tune in on ESPN New York every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And if you're not in the New York metro area, you could download the app. So whether you're in New York or Hawaii or in Asia, you can listen to me on ESPN New York. If you're in New York, tune in on 8:80 a.m. And those of you outside of the New York metropolitan area, download the app and make sure you get ready for 60 minutes of all the big games in college football, the NFL. I love college basketball. Last week we had a big play on the over in that St. John's, Alabama game. College basketball is one of my favorite. But hey, this is the NFL edition, so we're going to focus on the NFL. And you know, before we get to the key marquee matchups for Week 11 of the NFL season, let's talk about the updated odds to win the Super Bowl. And I'm going to talk about the matchups of what we would see if the season ended today. And ironically, one team, if the season ended today, would not make the playoffs, yet they're favored to win the Super Bowl. And that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City right now is at plus 550 to win it all. And right now, if the season ended, they would not make the playoffs. In a moment, we'll talk about the hypothetical matchups if the season ended today. And I know there's a lot more football left to play, but we'll talk about that. The second choice is the LA Rams, and they'll be hosting the Seattle Seahawks. Both of those teams have won 4 in a row. They're on a collision course. I'll have my pick on this game a little bit later in this podcast. And, of course, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. Monday night, we were on Philadelphia, and, boy, that was a nail-biter. And that was one of the few low-scoring games that was one of the most exciting games we've seen all season long. And Philadelphia's defense showed up, and the Packers, did not. And we had Philly in that game. We were happy to get the win. And the fourth choice is the Detroit Lions. And, ironically, the Lions are at plus 750. The Lions take on Philadelphia on Sunday night. That's going to be a great game. We'll talk about Detroit and Philadelphia. Then you have the Buffalo Bills. How about Buffalo? They went down to Florida and they got beat by the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo is the fifth choice at plus 900. You got Seattle Seahawks at plus 1,000. Then you got the Colts at plus 1,100. And yeah, the Indianapolis Colts played the Falcons last week. We had the over in that game, and we were happy to get the over there. Then you got the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens could be a dark horse team. Right now, the Baltimore Ravens are behind the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the Ravens have been rolling, and I think they're going to catch the Steelers, and I think they're going to win that division. Green Bay is at plus 1,500. You got Denver at plus 1,800. Denver is not getting any respect, and meanwhile, the New England Patriots are at plus 2,000. So those are the updated Super Bowl odds. But let's take a look at what the hypothetical matchups would be if the playoffs started today in the NFL. After Week 10, we have the number 1 seed, the AFC, would be the Indianapolis Colts. Okay? Then the 2 seed, the Denver Broncos, would take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars had a meltdown, and the Jaguars are not really a playoff team. They're right now the 7th seed. When it's all said and done, I'm not sure we're going to see the Jaguars in the postseason because they are not good. I mean, for them to have a meltdown against the Houston Texans is embarrassing. Meanwhile, the 3 seed, the New England Patriots, they would take on the Buffalo Bills. Now, New England already won at Orchard Park, and these two teams are going to meet again in a couple of weeks. In New England, but you know, Drake May. We had Tampa last week when we had New England, I should say, when they beat Tampa. We had New England plus 3 and on the money line. So now, if this season ended right now, New England would play Buffalo, and then the 4 seed would be Pittsburgh. They would take on the LA Chargers. And by the way, the LA Chargers took care of Pittsburgh. I don't want to keep touting our own horn, but we also had the Chargers last Sunday night. Well, everyone says I don't play favorites. Well, we did. We had the Chargers when they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers last Sunday. And I think Pittsburgh, when it's all said and done, the Baltimore Ravens are going to win that division. Meanwhile, in the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, coming off that big Monday night game, we had them. Philadelphia beating Green Bay. As I mentioned, one of the few low-scoring games that was very exciting. And we were happy to get the win with the Philadelphia Eagles. And they would be the number 1 seed. The 2 seed would be Seattle. They would be taking on the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay right now would be the 7 seed. And then you have the Detroit Lions, who will be the 3 seed. They would take on the 6 seed Chicago Bears. And then, of course, you got Tampa Bay would be the 4 seed. Tampa Bay was surprised at home, not by us. We thought that New England would go in there and win, and they did. Tampa's got a big game against the LA Rams. And if the season ended right now, Tampa would be the 4 seed, and the Rams would be the 5 seed. Now, again, it's only week 11, and there's a lot of things that are going to change. And one of them might be Kansas City, the favorites to win the Super Bowl. But right now, if the season ended, we don't see them anywhere on this playoff picture, because right now, if the season ended, they would not be in the postseason. But a lot of things are going to change between now and the time playoffs start in January. There are 5 key games for week 11 of the NFL season. And one of the marquee matchups will be in Orchard Park, where the Buffalo Bills will be taking on Tampa Bay. I think this game is more important for the Buffalo Bills, okay? Because Buffalo is right now, they're only 1 game behind in the loss column to New England, but technically, New England owns the tiebreaker because New England already won at Orchard Park. So now Buffalo is laying 5.5. The total's at 48 against Tampa. Tampa did not look good. Baker Mayfield, did not look good at home last week, and I was happy because we had New England plus the 3. We bought the half point. We took them to 3. Whenever the line's at 2.5 and you're playing the dog, always buy the half point. Never get beat by the hook. I say that all the time. In this matchup here, I think that Buffalo's offense is going to get back into sync. I mean, let's face it, they're coming off that big Sunday night game 2 weeks ago, Sunday afternoon game when they beat Kansas City, and they were really flat in Miami. I think at home, if the weather's conducive and the weather is okay and it's not snowing, I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. The total is 48. I think Buffalo scores 30, 34 points in this game here, and if Baker can keep up with them, I'm going to lean towards a total this game over 48. Now, remember, you could tune into my nationally syndicated sports betting show, The Fine Line, in New York. I'm on ESPN New York every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. If you're not in the New York metro area, you can download the app, and no matter where you are, whether you could be in China, you could be in Russia or Ukraine. Who cares about Russia, right? But if you're in Ukraine and you're able to get the app, you can download the app and listen to us, and we'll be praying for you as well. Meanwhile, another marquee matchup for Week 11 takes us to Minneapolis, where Minnesota will be taking on Chicago Bears. Minnesota had a chance to beat Baltimore, but they made a couple of big mistakes down the stretch, and they did not beat Baltimore. They lost to the Baltimore Ravens. Chicago Bears are very lucky. They've won their last 2 games. They should have lost both of them. They were down by 10 to the Giants, and the week before that, they won in Cincinnati in a miracle game as well. So the Bears are very fortunate. Minnesota's favored by 2.5 in this game here. Minnesota's already beaten the Bears. Now, the line's at 2.5. Whenever the line is less than 2.5 or less, I normally, if I'm playing the favorite, I'll play the money line. In this case, I do like the Vikings to beat the Bears. Bears, like I said, got by with the skin of their teeth against the Giants last week. They should have lost, but the Giants always have meltdowns in the fourth quarter. We know that. So I lean towards the Vikings on the money line here against the Chicago Bears. They beat them once, and I think they'll do it again. One of the bigger games on the board for Week 11 is the LA Rams are taking on the Seattle Seahawks. I think the winner of this game might be the best team in the NFL. I know the Eagles are the number 1 seed, but it's only Week 11. The Rams right now are favored by 3, and the total is at 48. Seattle has won 4 in a row. Did you see what they did last week? They were up like 35-0 in the second quarter. And the Rams, they went to San Francisco. And San Francisco, I know, beat the Rams earlier in the season, but they went to San Francisco and manhandled Shanahan's team, which is very unusual. I'm going to have a big player in this game, but right now I lean towards the over in this game here. Both offenses are clicking on both cylinders. I think that the team with the ball last is probably going to win, but I lean towards the over. Again, this is the midweek update, so I'm going to have some more updated information on this game. Now, you can also follow me on Instagram. I put out free picks every day, 7 days a week at Joe Wiz Sports. Go to Instagram, follow me, and you'll get picks every day, 7 days a week. Or if you're here on YouTube, you can click on the link in my bio and get free updates every day as well. It's important to get updated information, and I always like to look at the day of the game, when the games are going on, look at the tote board, because that's really where all the big money's going. Only during the week, there's some money moving here and there, but the smart money, a couple hours before game time, sometimes an hour before game time, that's where the big money's going. And now we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos. Kansas City is favored by 4 on the road, and the totals game is at 44. Denver Broncos have won 7 in a row, and they're not getting any respect. You saw the Super Bowl odds. They were like the 8th or 9th choice. They have only beaten one team with a winning record during the 7-game winning streak, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Denver won in Philly. And, Denver's had a very soft schedule, and they barely got by the Raiders in that last game against on that Thursday night game. Meanwhile, Kansas City, everyone still thinks they're the Super Bowl favorites. And I think, that with Surtain out, you got to favor Kansas City a little bit here, but I could see this game be decided by a field goal, not much more than that. So I'm going to have more updated info on this game here. The totals are 44. KC's defense has been lights out, and so has been the Broncos. But the Broncos have played a very soft schedule. And as I mentioned, Kansas City in their game 2 weeks ago, they lost to Buffalo. In that game, we had Buffalo. So you give, you're going to give up Kansas City and Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare at a game that's almost a must-win situation. They lose this game, their chances of catching the Broncos in the AFC West are slim and none. But there's a lot more at stake than just winning the AFC West. Kansas City is the team that can make it a wild card team and make a run, because whenever you have a pedigree like Patrick Mahomes, a quarterback, you don't need home field to win it all. And of course, the other 5th game of our marquee matchup for Week 11 takes us to the link, where the Philadelphia Eagles will be taking on the Detroit Lions. Philadelphia coming off a big win at Green Bay. That was a great game. I was happy because I won the game. So, we took Philadelphia, and they went to a 1-point favorite. I was able to get +3 like a day before that, but then the line went to -1. I still like the Eagles in that game, and they took care of Kansas City. They took care of Green Bay. I'm sorry, not Kansas City. And they did beat Kansas City earlier in the season, though. But Philadelphia is favored by 2, and the total is at 47. The Detroit Lions, we're not sure what to think. Which team is going to show up? Is it the team that lost to the Vikings at home a couple weeks ago? Or is it the team that went to Washington? Washington was all banged up. I mean, it seemed like an easy choice. I don't like laying points on the road when Detroit went to Washington, but a few people asked me about that game. I said it's probably going to be a blowout. I said play the over in the game. I don't like laying points on the road. I generally like to play underdogs. I'll play some favorites, but I would say 65% of the plays I play are dogs. You know what they say, information is priceless. The house very rarely loses, and that's true. And that's what I talk about on my sports betting show, The Fine Line. And it's on every Saturday morning on ESPN New York. So if you're in the New York, New Jersey, metropolitan area, you can listen to it on 8:80 a.m., or you can just download the ESPN New York app. And if you're outside the country, whether you're in California, Hawaii, China, or Ukraine, wherever you are, you can download ESPN New York, and I'm on every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. I'm going to break down every game for the NFL. There's 13 games on the board. I narrowed it down to the 5 biggest games on the board for Sunday, but there's a lot of big games going on for, we got the game in Madrid, Spain, with the Dolphins and Commanders. It's not really a meaningful game, but there's a couple of other games that have some significance. But those are the 5 main games that are going to, give us a better picture next week of what the playoff picture might look like. It changes every week. But, if some of these teams lose, like Kansas City, they're not going to be the favorites to win the Super Bowl anymore if they lose at Denver. So they've had 2 weeks to prepare. Denver's without their best defensive guy, so we'll see what happens there. And if you like basketball, college basketball, NBA, I love talking about college basketball. I love talking about the NBA, more in college basketball. But you can listen to my show, The Fine Line, again, which is on ESPN New York. So those are the 5 key games. I hope we gave you a little bit of a direction of what to do for this Sunday. And I'm going to have some more updates right here on the Fine Line podcast, and we thank you for tuning in.
Join one of the nation's top sports betting analysts, Joe Wiz, as he breaks down all the games in football on the Fine Line. Saturday at 8 a.m. Oklahoma travels to Alabama and Texas takes on Georgia. Plus, hockey, NBA, and UFC from the Garden. The Wiz has you covered. Sunday in the NFL, huge matchups as Tampa takes on Buffalo and Kansas City faces a must-win in Denver. Follow The Wiz on Instagram at Joe Wiz Sports. It's the best bet in town. And tune into the Fine Line with The Wiz Saturday at 8 a.m. Be ready to win.